When I first saw Dan Hanley, it was in French class, and he was this really tall, 6'5", blonde-haired, blue-eyed, jock kind of guy in high school, and I didn't think I'd ever have a chance I'd ever be with somebody like that. He just seemed to be really popular with the girls, and I was just somebody that was just, this little girl that came over from another school, and never thought I would even have a chance. I know there were always girls that he always had girlfriends, and he was on the basketball team, and he just seemed to be above what I would consider, or someone ever considering me to be their girlfriend.
My first impressions of Julie Handley was, one, she was very pretty. Two, as I got to know her, I was just really drawn to her as a friend. I mean, we just collect my impressions from Julie from the beginning were that she was very honest, very down to earth, and very easy. Probably the biggest quality at that age was she was very easy to talk to.
I guess the one time that I thought maybe he did kind of care about me is we had a class together our senior year, and we had, been really talking a lot and spending some time together. And these shoes that they used to have back then, as a matter of fact, they're coming back, and now they're the really high platform shoes. And I had a pair on, and I was sitting in class, and I had my legs crossed, and I asked the teacher if I could be excused to go to the restroom, and he said yes. And when I got up to stand up, my foot had fallen asleep, and because of that, I couldn't feel my leg, and so I fell forward onto a desk, and the desk went slamming to the floor, and it made this really loud noise, and I was like super embarrassed. And the teacher said, "Judy, just go to the bathroom." And so I went in the hallway, and I was so mortified that I did that in front of Dan that I didn't want to go back into the classroom. So I sat in the hallway by the door to go outside.
She went out in the hallway, and I asked the teacher if I could go out and see her, make sure she was all right. But, I could tell she was clearly embarrassed. But that was one thing that really, jumped out.
And I thought that was really sweet because he knew that I was kind of embarrassed to go back into the classroom.
Later on one night I was working, and Julie and Mary Jo Talbot showed up at the place where I was working. And Mary Jo Talbot, who was the homecoming queen at that time, asked me to go to this dance. And I said yes. And a few weeks later, Julie and I became closer and closer. And all the while I was thinking, man, I'd rather be going with her. And we really thought about it, and as we got to enjoy each other's company more, and we actually went out on a first date. We had so much fun that I decided, you know what, I was going to call that Mary Jo Talbot up and tell her that it wasn't going to work out for me to go with her.
We kind of arranged a little thing where he went and told the girl that asked him that he couldn't go anymore because he had to work. And that's really kind of mean, but that's what we did. and then he told her that he couldn't go, and then so he came back and said that he could go with me to the dance because he wasn't going with this other girl anymore. And then we ended up dancing next to her and the boyfriend all night, or her other guy that she took all night long, so that was kind of uncomfortable. But it was just still kind of fun that we got to go together.
It was clearly going to college. The real issue was where we were going to be able to stay together, as we were that far apart. But it showed the staying power we had, our commitment to each other to keep it going.
I didn't have any doubts marrying Dan. I just knew he was the right guy and knew that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with him, and we had fun together.
When we were about to get married, actually, I was very nervous. And I remember going to my dad. We were talking about my dad, and I went out for lunch, and I was explaining that I was, a bit nervous about doing this. And as a matter of fact, he ended up, let's sit down and talk to a priest. So we went and sat down and talked to this guy. But, I think it was more than anything, it was just the realization that a big change was about to happen in my life. And, it turned out to be a fantastic choice. But I was nervous. And our wedding day, then that nervousness accelerated when we were waiting for the beginning of the ceremony, and our photographer didn't show up.
After this long of being together, I don't get jealous. I know that, Dan loves me and I love him, and there's nothing that's going to make us be jealous about. But I remember back when we first got married, we were I was working at a bank up there, so I got to meet all the kids in the college town, and went away for a weekend up to Houghton to the ice festival up there, and we were out at a bar, and there was a guy that comes into the bank from Marquette. He had been up there too, and he came over and started talking to me, and Dan got so jealous that he was making a fool of himself in this place, and I got so mad that I just decided just to leave and walk back to the hotel, and I locked him out of our hotel room because I didn't want him in there because he was really embarrassing. I had to go back to work the next Monday and face that guy. The hardest part in the relationship was having to support Dan and he me after losing our parents. Both his mom and dad passed away in very unusual circumstances.
She's always been there for me, and I hope she would feel the same way for her. But she was always there and just solid as can be. One of the most exciting times was when we had the opportunity to have our first child.
After you have the baby in the hospital, this hospital had a nice little breakfast for the mom and dad to share together, like their first meal after they had the birth of their child. And Dan was so excited that he missed the breakfast. I had to eat it by myself. There were all these other parents around together, the moms and the dads having their quiet, romantic little breakfast together, and I'm sitting there eating mine by myself because he was so excited. He's running all over the hospital telling people that he just had a baby son, and he was calling everybody under the moon to tell them about it, and I thought, well, that, I didn't mind because I knew how excited he was and how much we both had wanted that.
Boy, what a great feeling that was.
I think what has kept us together for 30 years is that we, there are times, that it hasn't been all peachy and rosy. There are times when it's difficult, but what really keeps us going is we both have a sense of humor, which is such a big part. We really both have a good sense of humor. We laugh a lot together, and that's good. We can just laugh over pretty much anything. We find humor in a lot of things, and that helps us, I think, get through some of the difficult times.
We genuinely enjoy each other's company. There's probably no one else other than my kids with us that I enjoy, spending time with like her. I mean, I truly enjoy being with Julie and always have. So I would say what's kept us together is that we have fun together. We do things together, and I really respect her, genuinely respect her for who she is, what she values, and how she treats others.